Picture this, a quiet evening stroll in paradise, 105 degrees of Arizona sun baking the pavement of Sunridge Meadows, and suddenly your wife is one zip tie away from temporary restraint because her linen tank top offends the neighborhood's sacred visual harmony. Yeah, that actually happened. And the man screaming about bylaws like they were the 10 Commandments had no idea he'd just poked the one hornet's nest that could burn his entire little empire to the ground. Sunridge Meadows sits 20 minutes outside Phoenix, all palm-lined streets and identical terracotta roofs that scream, "We're civilized." What the glossy brochures never mention is the 187-page covenant that turns neighbors into informants and turns a Friday walk into a potential felony. At the top of that pyramid sits Harlan Crow, president of the Sunridge Homeowners Association, a retired insurance adjuster who discovered the one place on earth where he could finally be the cop he always fantasized about being. We were 30 steps from our front porch when his golf cart, painted matte black with gold Community Order Patrol lettering, blocked the sidewalk. 2 retirees in knockoff tactical vests hopped out, zip ties already dangling like cheap jewelry. Harlan adjusted the plastic eagle on his chest and announced to the entire cul-de-sac, "That sleeveless garment is a clear violation of Bylaw 14B, Section 3, Public Decency and Uniform Aesthetic Standards. Until compliance is achieved, the subject will be detained by cop officers for community safety." My wife Elena didn't flinch. She just reached into her crossbody bag, flipped open her credential wallet, and held the gold FBI badge up to the dying sunlight. Special Agent Elena Reyes, Victim Services Division. Tier 3 Field Certified. You just tried to physically restrain a federal officer performing a protected medical accommodation. The 2 retirees froze mid-step like someone hit pause. Harlan's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. The plastic eagle on his vest suddenly looked ridiculous. He took one step back, then another, muttering something about verifying authenticity, while his face turned the color of overripe cactus fruit. He didn't apologize. He didn't even look sorry. He just climbed back into his golf cart, muttered, "The board will address this," and drove off like a man who'd realized he'd just signed his own warrant. That night Elena locked herself in the bathroom, cold water running, the same ritual she'd done for 3 years since that last extraction in Juarez left half her right shoulder nerve screaming every time fabric touched scar tissue. I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I wasn't angry yet. I was calculating. The next morning the Harmony wall, the locked glass display case at the community entrance, had a new laminated photo. Elena from last week, short-sleeved dress, head down walking our dog. Caption in crisp courier font. Potential category, 2 attire breach, aesthetics review pending. Timestamped. Logged under Officer ID HC 001. Harlan Crow himself. I started digging the way only someone who traces ghost networks for the Bureau knows how. Turned out the Community Order Patrol wasn't just weekend warriors with golf carts. They were running unlicensed UHF frequencies right in the middle of public safety bans, embedding hidden cameras inside those cute colonial lamp posts the HOA swore were purely decorative, and piping every resident ring feed through a backdoor integration that bypassed consent. All of it labeled with federal-style metadata overlays, case numbers, timestamps, suspect tracking indices. Harlan wasn't enforcing rules. He was playing dress-up as law enforcement while hiding behind private property rights. 3 days later Valerie Moss, the HOA secretary who'd always looked like she was one panic attack away from quitting, showed up on our porch at dusk holding a thumb drive like it was radioactive. "I didn't sign up for this," she whispered. He bypassed the board again. Tier 3 escalation packet is already drafted. New bylaw that makes external agency interference a finable offense and bans federal credentials from being displayed without prior written approval. He's calling an emergency charter vote Thursday to make the cop permanent. She left us the minutes, the frequency logs she'd secretly copied, and the quiet admission that her own 12-year-old niece was next on the shaming list for wearing a 2-piece at the community pool. Thursday night the clubhouse smelled like burnt coffee and fear. 50 residents packed the folding chairs. Harlan stood at the podium in full cop regalia, voice smooth as oil. "Tonight we vote to enshrine the Community Order Patrol into the governing documents. 2/3 majority, and order becomes law." I stood up. The room went dead silent. "Before we vote," I said, voice carrying like I was briefing a field team, "let's talk about the unlicensed 462.675 MHz transmissions your patrol has been running for 6 months. Let's talk about the cameras in the lamp posts that were never disclosed in any audit. Let's talk about how every single photo on that Harmony wall was processed with federal metadata templates that constitute impersonation of a federal officer under 18 U.S.C. Section 912. Harlan's smile twitched. This is a private community. Our enforcement is illegal, Elena cut in, stepping beside me, badge clipped visibly to her belt. She dropped a thick binder on the table in front of him. 38 residents targeted. For minors. Every image styled like a federal wanted poster. And this, she tapped the top page, is the FCC preliminary inquiry notice that landed in my inbox 2 hours ago. They're very interested in your little radio network. Valerie stood from the board table. I moved to suspend all COP operations immediately and table the charter amendment pending third-party audit. Seconded before Harlan could blink. Hands shot up across the room. Not just the usual complainers, quiet families who'd paid fines for excessive holiday lights, and grieving widows ticketed for visual discord after putting out flowers. The vote wasn't even close. Harlan reached for his tablet to kill the feed the way he always did when things got messy. The screen stayed blank. Because 2 hours earlier I'd parked at the edge of HOA property and injected a clean little packet into his central router node. The system now believed it was under active federal override. Every camera froze. Every patrol cart went offline. The Harmony wall updated itself with a single new entry. Internal audit triggered by verified federal authority. Harlan's face went pale. He looked at the tablet, then at the sea of phones now recording him, then at the 2 plainclothes agents who just walked in the back door. FCC Enforcement and Bureau Internal Affairs, courtesy of the complaint Elena and I filed Monday. Mr. Crow, the FCC agent said calmly, we'd like a word outside. He never came back in. By the next weekend the Harmony wall was gone. In its place the new board installed a simple cedar bench under a shaded ramada. A small bronze plaque reads, Harmony requires consent. Elena and I sat there last night, her shoulder finally relaxed against mine, no sleeves needed. The desert wind carried the smell of creosote and freedom. For the first time since we moved in, Sunridge Meadows felt like a neighborhood instead of a prison with landscaping. So here's the question that keeps me up at night. True or false? The HOA president was just a guy trying to keep things nice and orderly, or did he get exactly the karma his own bylaws were always meant to deliver? Drop your verdict in the comments. Because the next time someone tries to zip-tie your freedom in the name of community standards, remember, the rules they love so much have a way of fitting perfectly around their own necks. Subscribe if you want more stories where the little guy doesn't just win, he makes the bully choke on his own clipboard. See you in the next one.